everyone. Today we're going to take out our final test cam and measure our crank runout and install our cam I'll be running for the remainder of the season here. Crank runout is a very important thing to keep an eye on because it tells us the condition of the crankshaft and it also tells us if it's going out of spec. Too much crank runout is a problem because it will wear the cam plate out and lead to engine failure. We have to monitor this. So I measured this before I started this whole test. I believe it was like 6,000. We can go back in our previous video and find out. First thing we do is pull the cam cover off. Which has been off 24 times now. I like to have a little catch pan here and a little diaper here to keep all that from ooze and sliding off all my cables and lines there. Let that drain. We're going to pull off our cam tensioner there. We're going to pull off our cam and sprocket, set our timing. Yeah, that's good. Look at this little milky stuff here. See that? This is what happens when you start your engines and don't let them warm up correctly. Condensation builds in the engine. And I see a lot of bikes where people start them up and run them for 5 minutes or 10 minutes and shut them off. Or sometimes the dealers like to start them up and ride them outside and let them sit outside cold all day and bring them at the end of the day. We'll see it's so bad it will pull this cover off and it'll look like mayonnaise in here. It's very bad for the engine because that is not functional oil. It will lead to lifter failure and could lead to engine failure. So the moral of that whole thing is don't start your bike unless you're going to ride your bike. This bike's going to get completely serviced when we're done with all this. Desperately need of. We beat the crap out of it for the past month. I think we're up to how many runs? Well, how many hundreds of runs? I think we're up over probably about 250 runs on the bike. You can see my little shim coming out there. See? And I've been trying to keep this shim for as long as I can, just because. Now we get that out of the way. I'm going to pop this off of here. I'll get that in a minute. That is a shim. This shim is necessary to have varying thicknesses to properly set the alignment between the two gears. Or two sprockets, I may say, it's not gears. A gear has teeth where they mesh together, where a sprocket has teeth where it runs on a chain. Our oil pump screws. Remove our cam plate. I'm taking the engine apart with this electric ratchet, but I'll reassemble by hand. you take this off, make sure your oil pump gears don't come flying out and fall on the ground. All right, there is our cam. It's our Andrews 485, which I really like this cam. But I'm going to choose something that's a little more mid-range for my riding style, but who knows, that may end up back in the bike. I really like this thing. Now we're going to put my tool on here. We're going to measure that runout. This is the fueling runout tool, which works very well. This is a moment of truth here. How'd she live through all this testing? We're going to find out right now. Okay, GoldenRod, what do you got? Let's see. Down here was 0 right there. And we're, oh, let's see. We're at 0, comes up. That that's around 8 thousandths. 8, 9, just to almost 9 thousandths. So the crank did move a little bit through all this. I believe it was around 6.5 or something. We're gonna go back and check. Okay, so our crank run out has went from 6 thousandths of an inch to 8 thousandths of an inch in 271 runs. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna monitor this in the future. And normally these cranks really don't move, but again, the bike was brand new. It had 250 miles on it. Right now it has a total of, poor girl, 949 miles, all on the dyno. That's doing it for the love. I'm gonna monitor that, but we have 2 thousandths running now. Keep in mind that the whole engine in the bike was brand new, had 250 miles on it when I first took it apart. So things are gonna settle in. But now we're gonna document this, and we're gonna check this again in the future when we're back in here, because this isn't the last time we're gonna be in here. We got other ideas for the future for this. All right, so we're at 8 thousandths right now, which at 8 thousandths, that spec is too large to use an SNS cam plate. Is way too large to use a gear drive cam, and that's why I don't push gear drive cams in these at all, because we don't have the crank tolerance for them. The gear drive cam needs to have a maximum of 3.5 thousandths of crank run out, and most of these don't have that even from the factory. That's another reason why these gear drive cams, I don't push them for these at all. I don't push them for anything anymore, actually. If you have a real engine that you're really building to really run very, very hard, with like a dark horse built crank that you know is going to stay with the spec, or a good SNS crank, you could use it. But the gear drives will also give you more noise, sometimes a little more noise in the valve train area. People are unaccepting of that too, which is another reason why I don't push them. So and the chains work just fine. So we're going to put our cam in. I'm not going to tell you which one it is, to be fair to everybody. I'm sure y'all can figure things out on your own too. Yeah, lube this up real nice. Lifters are held up in place by fueling race lifters. One more slime on here. Oh, I'm sorry, it is Torco engine assembly lube. Great stuff. I'm gonna get a new O-ring for there. I'll be right back. Now, since this isn't the last time we're going to be in here for a while, I hope, I think, no guarantees on that. I'm going to clean, blow all the holes out, put Loctite in my screws where they belong. Blue Loctite around these all these screws. Red goes on these 2 bolts. So right now, the first thing you need to do is blow these holes out. If you have oil stuck in these holes, you can hydro lock and crack your engine case. Wait for a heater stop. It's very important to blow the oil out of the holes before you reinstall your bolts, because the captured oil in there could cause a hydro locking situation where you can crack your case. As you put the bolt in, it'll compress that oil and it can crack your case. I've seen that happen before with this. Bolt's real nice. They're wearing gloves. I got a cut on my thumb. Yep. Do Loctite. Don't overdo the Loctite, everyone. Don't overdo the Loctite. You don't want to get squeezed in between your mating surfaces and cause other problems. When too much is used, I can see it squeeze through here sometimes and plug those holes up. So be careful with that. My speed wrench. Everybody needs a speed wrench in their toolbox, even if it's from 1945. I like this tool. I'll show you why in a minute. Wait till it starts. This is off in a minute. New York. All right, so I'm going to be using my speed wrench to install this. The reason why I like my speed wrench is because it just gives me a lot of good feel. I tighten the bolts and seat them up. And what I do is I bring them up really close without locking them down. This is very important, everyone. Because when you have some crank run out, whether it be this type of engine or a twin cam, you need to center that oil pump. So without this being tight, I'm going to rotate this engine and spin this. And as I'm spinning it, I'm going to start snugging these up. That allows this crank to center this plate and neutral it out in its travel where it needs to be with that runout. And the oil pump is going to be the same process. Cam plate first, oil pump second. Rotate it around, let that thing get centered. Snug it down. Now I'm going to torque it. A little extension. Torque this down to 118 inch-pounds. Yeah, this is inch-pounds. When I'm done, I'll go around one more time just to make sure. I did a star pattern originally, but I'm just going around in a circle to make sure that they're all seated and happy. All right. Now what we're going to do, put our cam shim in place. There's my little lube. Move this up here. And kind of set. And sprocket. I don't know if you noticed, but I'm not really taking and cleaning everything like crazy. Reasons why this is really clean right now. If I keep it clean, I don't need to spend a lot of time cleaning stuff and run the risk of actually blowing some dirt into things. I'm sure I'll get some comments about that, but I just feel it's a good way to do it. Now that that's in place, get a red Loctite. This isn't the last time it's going to be a part, so this bolt will get replaced in the future. But for now, it's going to be okay. And again, don't need to overdo it. Runner. Torque that. .34 foot-pounds. Okay. A little shim. Where'd my shim go? I think it jumped out of me. It jumped out of me. I had it right in there. One I lost. Man, what? Oh, here she is. All right, here's our little shim. Let me try to see how many times I can use it over. It's a little hard to work with gloves here. It's even easier. It's easier when you're using a new piece of sim stock, but this is just a matter of principle here. See how long I can get this, use this one over. All right. It may not be the day. Yeah, I got plenty of it. Just because. There we go. See how tighten that sprocket right up. Put some more gloves, which makes it a little difficult for me. And there we go. Always check your timing marks, make sure they're lined up. Torque this to 24 foot-pounds. That's how Harley wrote it. You can do the math and do either way. It doesn't really matter. All right, we're going to install our tensioner here. Remember about blowing these holes out. $118. Ready for the cover now. Gas cover. Right. Yep. Yeah. Questionable because some parts of the country aren't allowed to use that stuff. There you go. No. Well, it's thread locker blue, Permatex, same stuff. It is a formula of thread locker. Those two holes down there will definitely get a lot of oil in them. Well, let's put the cover on for a little while. Here. New gasket. The one bolt has a bigger washer than the rest. It came that way from the factory. I'm keeping that one up top. When you put bolts in by hand, you have less chance of cross-threading them and stripping them like you do with the electric impact or air ratchet or any kind of electric ratchet. Center the cover. One, snug it up. Now I'll torque them. Same thing. 118. Jump around a little bit here. Cover seated, I'll go around it. No, she's good there. The next thing we need to do is put the push rods in, adjust my valves, the exhaust system on, and she's ready to roll. We're going to conclude this series with going over our cams that we tested here. We don't have all of them here. Some had to go back to the manufacturers and the people we borrowed them from. We do have over here our heaviest torque cams, the 100, TTS 100, the 468 Redshift. Then we cruise over here to the Cyclorama 480, 150, and the 480 MT. Those are our heaviest torque cams. We start coming over here to our mid-range, our 175 TTS cam, Redshift 472, Star 3030, SNS 475, 483 Cyclorama, which is great. And we come over here to our mid or upper range ones. That's like our Cyclorama 470, a Rocket 474, and our valve spring needed cams over here. You know, so it's a lot to look at. We're going to walk back into the dyno room and we're going to start doing a whole lot of overlays and show you how all these cams operate versus each other with overlay graphs. So it's going to be super cool, super interesting to see how they all function, how many are similar. Some are pretty much exact as the other ones. And that can also help make your determination on which one you want to spend your money on. Do you want to spend $100 more for pretty much the same results, or do you not care? you know, you're gonna make that choice. You know, as far as I know, there's only a few places that grind the cams in this country. I know Andrews does a lot of cam grinding. I believe Comp Cams does some grinding for people, and Zippers, the Redshift cams, I believe they grind them in-house. I think they still grind their own cams in-house. So the cost of the cams to buy them, how they vary so much, I guess it's up to how much that person wants to put in their pocket for their developmental time. And trust me, developing a cam takes a lot of time. I know for a fact that, you know, TTS spends, you know, countless hours when he's developing a cam, just having different grinds made, varying degrees, just a tiny small amount, runs it, tests it, puts it on the road, tests it, and then sees if it's a go or a no-go. And that's kind of what it takes to really develop a cam. It's not just sitting down at a computer and saying, hey, this cam looks great with these numbers, let's make it. No, it's not. You gotta take that cam, put it in a bike, you have to run it, you gotta ride it, you have to tune it, you have to make sure it tunes right. It doesn't have a lot of bad side effects. It's a lot of time in development of cams. And that's where the cost comes to help offset that time, to help pay them back for their investment to create these parts for us. Let's go in the back and check out what the dyno graphs say and what the overlays are, and we'll see you then. We have 261 on this set of run files. So that's a lot of runs. So right now we have pretty much four series of cams to talk about. We have our low range cams, we have our mid range cams, we also have mid upper range cams, we also have the cams that require valve springs. Okay, so low range cams. Here's a bike in stock form. Let's start off with a very good low range cam. That would be the TTS 100. That TTS 100 is a great cam if you want just a little more than stock. It works really nice. A really nice upgrade for that. Let's see where she is. I gotta find her in here. Bear with me. The first one we're gonna bring up here is a TTS 100. You can see how this cam comes out really nice and just really adds a lot of power here. It came up to be 130 foot-pounds of torque, come out of the hole at 120 foot-pounds of torque, and it gave us 117 horsepower. Really nice cam. It's a mild cam, really good upgrade if you want just a little more of what you have and don't want to go too crazy. So now if we go here to some other low range cams, and you can see how we can go to the Cyclorama 480 cam, which is a little more aggressive. But here it just starts picking up a little more power above 3,200 RPMs and carries a little more. Okay, so this is the zones of riding. It's cruising around through your towns. You're in this area here, 1,800 to 3,000 RPMs, cruising more aggressively on the back roads. You're 3,000 to 35. Maybe 37 highways of that area, 3,000 to 35 area. And over here, like 4,000 above, that's the fun zone where you're out really ripping it or passing cars. That's how I view all this. So you have to ask yourself, where do I ride? Am I with my friends? Am I always over here? Do I have like a dyno or a soft tail that's really light? Am I two up with my wife, only cruising the back roads and taking it real easy? Or do I do kind of both? I myself, I don't ride two up, and I ride everywhere with my bike. So for me, I choose a mid-range cam for my bike. So now if we go to the 480 MT, this one here is a great cam. And you can see here the 480 MT, it came on a little earlier in the torque, produced about the same top end power of 4,500 RPMs. It kind of produce the same power, but we have a little more low end torque with it, so it's great. And this might get a little hard to see as I bring up more graphs. So now we're going to go to the Redshift 468, very popular cam. Find her. Here she is. Okay, you can see the 468. Well, hell, that and the 480 MT, it's like around 480 MT are running neck and neck, except for the MT has a little more punch below 2,500 RPMs, tiny bit more. You see where the Redshift has a little soft spot at 2,200 RPMs here, where the other ones come on a little earlier. Are you going to feel all this? I doubt it, but you never know. Those are what I consider the low range cams. I believe the Woods 22XE is kind of considered that, so we're going to bring that one up here. Let's see how it lands on this pile of graphs here. In fact, I think that might be led more towards a mid-range cam, but we're going to find out there. Okay, the Woods 22XE. 22XE. I'm going to put that more in a mid-range cam. We're going to close out here. I'm going to bring up that Woods 22XE. I'm going to bring up my original baseline graph. Now, here's the Woods 22XE cam. Great cam. A lot of people love it. You can see how it comes out of the hole here. A little softer than the low range cams. Has a nice mid-range carry. and a decent top end. 129 foot-pounds of torque, 120 horsepower. That's what I ran out. So now let's bring up the S&S 475, one of my favorites. I use this cam a lot. You can see the woods, tiny little more torque out ramps up here. The S&S came out a tiny bit earlier here, but on the top end, it just carried on it. So now that we're in this zone, we have a lot of cams in this zone. I'll probably have to clear it and start over. Let's see. I'm gonna come up to another favorite cam out there that people love, and it's a great cam. Find our Star 3030. Before I forget about that, since I see it, here's our TTS 150. Kind of a low range, going into mid-range. Wanted to show you that real quick, so I did clear this out because this is gonna get confusing, but I'm gonna bring up the TTS 175, and I'll show you the difference between that and the 150. I'm jumping around here, and I apologize, but doing the best I can. The 175, more mid-upper range. The 150, a great cam if you want just a nice upgrade with good mid-upper range power. You see the 150 cam, 133, 122 horse, but below 3,400 RPMs, it's more torque. Where the 175, well, it shifted the power over. So we're gonna close that. We're gonna bring up the 175 again. We're gonna find our 3030. Here she is. Very, very popular cam. Okay, the 3030 here, over to 175. A little more low end torque, but the same top end power. Not bad. Again, it's a great cam. A lot of people love it. Let's go down to our 475 S&S cam. These two are commonly compared with each other. I'm going to close that, bringing up my original, and bring up the S&S 475. Going back to where I was a little while ago before I got sidetracked. I'm good at that. All right, Star 3030. The green line. S&S 475. The blue line here. Out of the hole, they're pretty much identical. The 475 sags a little bit, where the 3030 carries a little more, between 2,600 RPMs and 3,500 RPMs. Then pretty much after that, they're pretty much parallel each other, and well, 475 has a horsepower more. Let's go to we have Shop 67's 480. Oh my gosh, we have the 472, 480. I think that might be more towards mid-upper range. Yeah, it's more towards mid-upper range. Really nice cam, that 480 from Shop 67. A little softer here, but gets up and it delivers the power on top. What I like to see is more power than stock down here, even if we have a mid-upper range cam. And then when this one starts shutting down, this just picks up and goes. This one here, I believe, is the Redshift 472. Close that, bring that back up. Redshift 472, mid-upper range cam. Nice cam. Let's see how she rolls against the good old-fashioned 475. S&S cam. You can see the 472 definitely has a little more low-end torque here, which is nice. A little less mid-upper range, but out of the hole, it comes out really good. It's a really good cam. And we also have a fueling. Let's find the fueling. Fueling 472, where because my fat fingers hit the wrong buttons when I was typing it in there. I did not see it right until it was too late. Fueling 472. There it is. Very nice cam. Nice mid-upper range cam. Let's get the Redshift cam now. That's down here. 472. So check it out. Fueling 472 is the red. Redshift 472 is the blue. Pretty amazing, ain't it? So now we're gonna take and we're gonna grab, let's grab the Star 3030. We have our Woods 22XE. Wood 22XE is very similar, just a little less across the board. Let's go to our Star 3030. Very similar. Very similar all throughout here. A little more mid. Top end very similar. Now those four cams are very, very similar. In our S&S 475, we know it's gonna be about the same as here, a little less there. And I'll show you this. This is where it becomes hard to do this because everything starts blending together. S&S 475, more top end, mid range good, a little less right here. Okay, we have our S&S 475 again. I use this cam a lot as my benchmark because I use this cam a lot over the years for people. It's just a really awesome cam. Let's go to our Cyclorama 483. The 483 is a cam that surprised me a lot. It comes on nice and early. It's definitely, I would say, more of a mid-range cam, but still has a really good low-end punch with it, with a decent top-end carry. This is versus the S&S 475. Very interesting. So now they're doing this. Let's bring up Jim's Max L cam, which we're starting to move over into mid-upper range cam. Jim's Max L 821. This is a very popular cam with a lot of people. It's a little challenging to get. This cam is moving over to the mid-upper range area, pumped out some great numbers, 134 torque, 128 horse. Not bad at all. Let's bring up our Andrews 485. We find the right one with the 485. Here it is. Look at that. Andrews 485, Jim's Max Cell. Almost identical. Unbelievable. But I was just blown away when I overlaid these. I was like, this cannot be real. Here it is. You know, so this happens a lot. That's what's so cool. That's what's so cool about this test, is it's showing me this, showing us this, showing everybody all this here. It's how so many variations of cams, and some of them just kind of do the same thing. So now that we're shifting over to mid-upper range cams, Cyclorama 470. That's very mid-upper range, up end, top end power, 130 horsepower, 129 torque. But down here, she's soft. Brings me up another jaw dropper. And I'm not doing any of this to trash anybody at all. Please don't think I am. I'm showing people what I found with these results. Like I said, every one of these cams is awesome. They all have a place, and hopefully you can decide which one will fit you perfectly. Chris Rivas cam. Look at that. Rivas cam is awesome. Little soft down here below 2,500 RPMs, but just gets up and goes through the torque range and gives out the power. You know, that there is orange color. 129.14 horsepower with stock valve springs, but Cyclorama 470. 130 horsepower, but with less here. A light bike, the upper RPMs. This rocket cam was still, it'll work very nice in anyone that wants mid-upper range. And its price point is great. It's just really surprised me to get that power out of cams with that only require stock valve springs. Again, another bunch of awesome cams can really help you deliver what you want out of your bike where you want it to be. So now that we're going here, let's go up to any of my missed here. Let me see. We went through those, went through that. We're moving over to the upper range cams. In the upper range cams, we're gonna bring up Chris Rivas cam, which is still not a bad. It's not really fully mid-upper range, just a little softer here. We're gonna scroll on through here. I guess what I'm saying is mid-upper range really is kind of leaning towards the Max Cell and the Andrews 485 and the Cyclorama 470. Well, let's do this. Let's bring up, this is our rocket cam. Let's bring up our Andrews 485. Andrews 485. Rocket does have some more top end kick. 45 a little bit lower. And I was going cam now. This cam, the 43 here, you can see it kicks great here. Great mid-range punch. But the top end power, she starts laying down where the other one just kind of take off and go. They cross at 5250, where most dynographs should cross when you're seeing them. And they're scaled correctly. But you can see where the difference is there. Amazing stuff. Super excited to do this. I know a lot of people are asking about a whole lot more cams to test, and you know, I don't know what the future holds right now. It's we're ramping into our busy season. We got to really keep things rolling, keep customers on the road. You know, fall next winter, I see a very possibility of another bunch of these, maybe even a big inch build with some of this stuff going on. We'll see. I don't know yet. So let's go to our valve spring cams. What I mean by that is you need to replace the valve spring to use these cams. We have our TTS 200, which we knew wasn't going to really knock the world out with this stock compression, this 114, but we did it anyway. And this isn't to bash the 200. This is to show you, hey, don't buy this cam if you're putting in a stock 114. Buy something else. You know, that's kind of what we're trying to do, is don't overcam it. Bigger always sounds cooler, but bigger ain't always better. TTS 200, upgraded the valve springs when I was first assembling this engine so I could run these cams. I was actually asked by a very special friend to do this, to test some valve spring needed cams, and I'm glad I did, because it really broadened our results here, what we could test. And the other thing I learned is that when I'm making runs on the dyno, I put my ear next to the cylinders. I'm making a run to listen for detonation, and I can hear valve train sounds for these cams all the time. And let me tell you something. My valve train is a lot quieter with these valve springs in there, with all the cams I tested that do not require valve spring change. I definitely think it helped. I think those valve springs helped me achieve better power results with this bike because it's showing some really good numbers. I know it's a lot more of an expense, but if you're going to run the heck out of your bike, it might be a consideration, even if you're using a non-valve spring cam, to put those springs in. We used the TTS valve springs. The price point's not bad on them. It's not such a heavy killer valve spring that's really putting a lot of pressure on your valve stems. It's just a really nice upgrade. Anyway, this green line here is a Shop 67, HP 67, which again, Joey and I discussed. We said we knew it wasn't the right cam, but we said, let's try it. I did change the valve timing on this by 4 degrees. I advanced it to bring the cylinder pressure up, to bring it in a little earlier. Worked pretty darn good. You can see here, 131 torque, 126 horsepower, but this cam is designed for a bigger cubic inch. Both these cams are. I think Shop 67 uses this 67 HP cam and their big inch motors a lot with very, very good results. Makes some awesome power. Of course, at that, the valve timing will be set straight up. The TTS 200 is a cam that's designed for 120 inch or larger engines, and that's where you'll see that shine. Is a very nice low to mid-range balanced cam for those engines. So that's the story in that. Let's bring up this Star F35A. Now the F35A is sold to be used with these cubic inch engines, but also works well in larger engines. So we have here our Star F35A. You can see here, the cam works really good. A little softer down low, comes on a mid-range, hell of a top end punch. Kicked out, 130 foot-pounds of torque, 120.9 horsepower. There it is, feeling 508. That one, as far as the valve springs required cams, produced the best top end power at 130 horsepower. Torque was 132. A little soft here. Again, I believe that with a little more compression and using these cams in a situation where they were designed for, you would have much better results. So there's something I want to show you here. Fueling 508. You gotta buy valve springs for it. A lot of extra labor time involved, extra money. All right, where's our rocket? What our rocket did. Don't need to buy valve springs. Andrew's 485. Look at that. A little bit less power, more low end, don't have to buy valve springs. So it just goes to show you 483 is gonna be down here, but kick more here, but I'll show you. Bring it up, 483. More here, less there. If you really like high RPM screaming with your buddies, you wanna be over here. If you're two up riding down the road with your wife, having a good old time, just daydreaming, enjoying life, you wanna be here. If you do everything, well then you gotta figure out what's best for you. Okay, so now, I guess I want to show you all, keep going back to this Andrews 485. It's just a nice representation of great mid-upper range cam. Now let's bring up a heavy hitter low range cam. Let's bring up our redshift cam, 468. You see all the runs I had to make to calibrate these for each cam to get the best results out of it. So now with your 468, you're gonna have more here, less there. But 468 and a lot of these real low end cams can be timing sensitive. The harder that cam punch at the low end, more cylinder pressure it creates and the more possibility of having detonation issues with bad gas and stuff. So that's why I say timing sensitive on super low end cams. Keep that in mind, especially if you're riding across the country and you're getting bad gas somewhere. You may not want to put that in there. It's just or you definitely need a good exhaust. If you have a heavily restrictive exhaust, you will have to work timing more to make it be quiet. If you have a higher free flowing exhaust, well then it makes the graph go like this too, and you'll have other situations to work around. But it's cool to show you that. Where's our MT? Super cool cam. Just kicks and carries, very similar to Redshift. So the difference in torque. So it's amazing. I can stare at the stuff all day. Actually, I do stare at it all day. It's just super cool to show everybody this. A Shop 67 480. Nice cam, works great. 132 torque, 125 horse. Fueling 465. Kicks in a little harder than Shop's 467, but the Shop 67 480, but the 480 gets on the top end. Again, you got to choose what's best for you. More mid-upper range cams, you can usually throw more timing at them, which sometimes more timing gives you more power. Less timing is less power. When I have bikes come in that are not set up correctly, with way too much compression for the wrong cam, and trust me, it happens all the time, or a very bad exhaust system. I gotta do so much work to these timing tables to make them so they don't ping and rattle like crazy going down the road that you just give up a lot of power. It's not worth it. You get a lot more power out of the correct match combination, where you can give it good timing without those side effects. It just works out to be a much more reliable bike. The bigger isn't always better, guys. It's not always better, especially with cams. Too much compression isn't always better. I had a guy who was building cylinder heads. Geez, a build that came in years ago, and this was a guy doing cylinder heads out there for, and he took a certain cam, I think it was a Woods cam, and put like a level 1 compression on it, and this thing pinged so bad there was nothing I could do to stop it. When you have 240 pounds of cylinder pressure on a twin cam, there ain't much anybody can do on pump gas, you know, but that's just something that happens. Yeah, that guy that package can put out a hell of a dyno sheet with the right gas, but you can't ride it. So it's something to really keep taking into consideration when you're doing engine work yourself. Cylinder pressure is critical to knowing how that engine is going to work. I wish I had time to do more testing, to be honest with you. But unfortunately, I got to pay bills. I can't stay here, you know? We'll see what happens. I know there's a lot of cams being requested, and there's always more coming out. This here test teaches everybody, and I'm not giving any special attention to any cam at all. Every single one is being calibrated the same way, same temperatures. I'm not doing anything to make one look better than the other. I don't care to do that. I want to know the answer. I want to know the honest answer on how they all work. Another question is, why didn't I use a 2-to-1 to do this testing with? Why did I use a louvered baffle when I know it's not going to hit as hard? The reasons why, because it's what most people like to ride with. Most people, the 2-to-1s are awesome, but a lot of them are louder. Most people like to have just a bike that they can go out and enjoy with a tone that's not going to be so aggressive. They want that symmetry of both mufflers working. They like the tone of the louvered baffle and a chromework system. It's got that real heavy bark with a good cruising sound. That's why I chose that for this test. Now when I put this bike back together for myself, I'm going to put a quieter baffle in there because I myself don't care about making all that noise anymore. I want it to be a little mellower for me, and that will bring the torque up, as you can see with the baffle test video. But that's why I chose this system. That's why I did this instead of a 2-to-1. Is those reasons there. It's because of what the majority out there love to have. And as I do some other 2-to-1 stuff over the future, I'll be throwing things up for you guys to see how it works versus all this. Who knows, maybe I'll throw a 2-to-1 on this and just do a test with it, you know, with the final cam I use, and just show you that too. You know, if I can do it, if I can find the time to do it, I'm going to, because it only teaches us more. But the end moral of this whole thing is build the bike how you want it to be. Don't build it on how you're told it to be. First, you got to come up with how do you want your bike to be? What do you want to ride? What's your riding style? What's your goals? Performance bagger, 2-up cruising bike. It's a huge change in how you build them bikes. You got to decide that, then you can create that machine to be exactly what your dream is. I hope this has become very helpful for everybody. All right, it's been one heck of a run with GoldenRod in this round of testing of 22 cams. You've seen all the results. You got the data. I got blood coming out of my fingers from swapping these cams so much. I'll heal. GoldenRod's got some damage on her fender. I hope you all enjoyed it. I had a great time making this video. I look forward to doing more like this. It's just super interesting, and I'm grateful to be able to make the time to share this information with you guys. Thank you. All right, I would like to thank everybody for watching these videos and coming along on our journey through this cam shootout test with this. Please remember to like and subscribe all these videos, and it helps us grow the channel and give you more in the future.